Okay, so the last bit we're going to do, we're going to actually use some more data to help us now make a decision on exactly which film we're going to move forward with. So what we should have so far is we should have this worksheet. What we will have is we would have calculated the profit and calculated return on investment and make that a percentage. Some of you guys may have also decided to use some sort of conditional formatting. You should have three graphs, one showing you the movie budget so you can get an idea of what a good movie budget would be. You would have your box office revenue as well, again, which should show you the roughly exactly what a good box office revenue should be, and what the average what films tend to make in terms of revenue. And this, you should have your scatter graph with your trend line, where you can actually see, if I make this bigger, if you were to have a budget of $100 million, you should be looking at a rough average box office revenue of about 300 million. That's what is tend to be made. As you can see, I made this graph bigger so that it's easier to read the data on that. Bear in mind, we will be using these graphs later on, so please try to make sure that they are presentable. So now what we should have also done is we should have taken our genres, counted how many times each genre appears in that list. We should have taken the average ROI as well. And we should have done the same thing with the directors and actors. Now, in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my filter. Now, one issue some of you guys may have is we may have an issue where some actors have not been found. So what I'm going to do is, we have Mark Abraham and Tom Hiddleston. I'm going to search to see if we have that data anywhere else. I've held Control and tapped F. That's F for Freddy or Foxtrot. And I'm going to search for Mark Abraham, okay, which has only been found once in this spreadsheet or in this worksheet. I'm going to search Hiddleston, who has been found twice, one which is here and one which was above. So what I can do is, I am pretty confident and I'm happy to make that Mark Abraham's cell. I'll go over to movie data as well just to see if there are any issues. Okay, so if I search for Mark Abraham, okay, it's found it 4 times. Mark A, there's only one here, which he is here as a director. And I'll try Hiddleston as well, which we've got him twice. We've got him as cast over here. That's not an issue. And we've got him as a director here. Again, that's not an issue either. Okay, so that's fixed. Now I can move on. So you should be going back onto your document where you should have decided which 3 films you felt would have been the most successful. We're now going to test that based on the data we had available. So I'm going to highlight all the data from my film. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back over to my movie spreadsheet, and I'm going to now add a new tab. Okay, so that new sheet, I will now paste my data over onto that. I'm going to rename that by double-clicking. Remon. I'm going to highlight that data. I have an issue here where I've got this piece of text which is going on for miles. So what I'm going to firstly do is I'm going to highlight these columns. I'm going to actually split these based on that column data, and I want to come down to split text into columns. Okay, what is my separator? Oops. Okay, let me undo that. Let me try that again. Data, split text into columns. I want to actually change that. Comma, semicolon, full stop, space. My colon is not there, so I'm going to go to custom. I'm going to use my colon there, and that is done. Okay, so now I can actually use this data here in order to see, in order to bring the data back from these worksheets here. I'm going to actually make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to use text wrapping to get that hopefully a little bit more presentable. Okay, there we go. So I've got my data here. I'm now going to bring the average ROI back from these worksheets here. So the first thing what I'm going to do to do this, I'm going to use something called a VLOOKUP. Now the the V in VLOOKUP means vertical. I'm going to tell it to look for a certain piece of information from a huge table, and I'm going to get it to return a value based on that. So open bracket, what do I want it to look for? I want it to look for drama, comma. Where do I want to look for it? I'm going to go to the genre table. I'm going to select all of this, comma. Now, where do I want to return that information from? Which column? I'm looking for the average ROI, which is column 1, 2, 3. Column number 3, comma. Now, the next thing I will need to tell it is this column here, because it's looking for the genre. It's looking for, I can't remember which genre we had there. I think it may have been romance. Is this in order? This is not. So I'm going to write false. It is not in order. Comma, and now it's actually brought that average ROI back. So if I've got drama there, drama 311.55, which has brought that there. I'm going to do the same thing for these. However, remember that obviously we will be using different worksheets. So director, again, VLOOKUP, open bracket, what do I want it to look for? Elizabeth Manx, whatever is in this cell, comma, where do I want to look for it? Directors. I want it to return whatever's in the third column. Is it in order? No, it's not. So that is false. Okay. When I mentioned that it's false, it actually then looked for an exact match. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to do the same again for cast. V equals VLOOKUP, open bracket. I want it to look for Shailene Woodley, comma. I'm going to go to actors, comma, third column, comma, false, close bracket. It's as easy as that. Now I can drag that down, okay? Now I've got a couple of issues here. Amanda Stenberg. I'm going to actually try and search for her to see. Okay, there's no Amanda there. Let's try Stenberg or Sternberg. Let me have a look. It is actually Stenberg, so I'm going to search Sten. Okay, I have no results there, so I'm pretty sure there is no data on her. Let's try Farah McKenzie. Control F. Okay, I've got Mackenzie Foy and I've got Anthony Mackie. No, none of them. Okay, so I may find some data, which there could be a spelling error either over here or on this worksheet, which I may then decide to correct. I could actually search in the whole movie data if I wanted to, because I could have an error there. But once I've got that, I can actually use that data and see, and that would help me to make a decision. I can then decide to calculate an average ROI, to say based on all of this information, this is the average return on investment for this film. I could use that to make a decision. I could, if I wanted to, also bring in the number of films everyone's that's been based on to help that make me to use that to help me make a decision. If these are all based on, let's say, 3 films in total, whereas on the other side it was based on 25 films, obviously we can then know which data is a bit more reliable. Okay, so that's what you should have. You guys will justify your decision later on in one of the other tasks, but that's all you should have in order to help you make a decision. Again, feel free to comment or message me if you have any issues with regards